Hello everyone, and thanks for all the support with my videos. I'm very grateful. Today I want to speak about what's happened in Dundrum, County Tipperary, a village that was the scene of protests for the last 77 days by local residents regarding the imposition of an international protection centre in the Dundrum House Hotel. Now, today the Gardaí showed up with over 150 members with the public order unit. I think the dog unit was there also as well. To force through 3 busloads of migrants seeking asylum. Now, this comes on the back, as I said, of weeks and weeks of protests. It comes on a High Court order that was sought by the residents of the community of Dundrum, a small village in County Tipperary of about 200 residents, quite close to the Rock of Cashel and quite close to a lot of tourist, beautiful parts of Irish history in that area as well. It's very important as well to say there was a High Court action sought by the residents regarding the imposition of this International Protection Centre. That was denied by the High Court judge, and also there was a lot of public meetings around this in terms of also, as I said, huge amounts of peaceful protests. So again, there was more Gardaí showed up than people today to force through the will of the government without any consultation, without any proper communication, without any local and community democracy involved as well. Now, it's quite interesting because the owner of this hotel is a bit disputed at the moment, because one of the owners is seen to be a man by the name of Jeffrey Leo, who's ex-Morgan Stanley, unsurprisingly, the big financial behemoth that are huge throughout the world as well. So he took over the hotel a number of years ago, and he's backed as well by an Irish GA family, the Brogan family, in form of, they're seen as the owners of Dundrum House as well. And it isn't quite clear who the actual beneficiaries are, apart from these people. But again, as I said, people like Leo, when he moved in, he said the hotel was going to be used for a distillery for whiskey. It's going to be very prominent for people in the community and for tourists, and a big resort was to be used also as well. Because of the COVID lockdowns, it opened the door to another avenue of revenue, such was opening the door to Ukrainians. This was seen as being a temporary move, and a lot of people benefited in that area from having Ukrainians there, such as cheap labour. This is a big facet for low pay work for a lot of industries that are in and around that area, in and around that South Tipperary region. But then the government and Department of Integration decided that this would now be a hybrid facility. So then they decided to open it up for international protection. So again, the commercial property owners are making a fortune, the big bosses are making a fortune from cheap labour, and a lot of petitions were started by the local community. Most notably, they had serious concerns regarding the loss of tourism, the promises that were made in terms of that hotel, in terms of providing local employment. That should be well paid employment, but unfortunately, due to these big bosses, they can actually exploit people by using them for cheap labour. So obviously the cost of loss of tourism is huge in the area. The lack of resources in terms of healthcare, education as well is huge concerns for people in that region. And there was other issues around community cohesion also as well, in terms of lack of integration and safety issues as well. But what's most notable with all this, and what's come in the latest kick in the teeth to local communities, has been the lack of democracy, which is crucially important in what's been going on in society in terms of the immigration chaos and who benefits. So the people who are marching up and down to say this is about some other issue, it's not. It's about an issue, basically it's a class issue. It's ordinary people are the ones who are suffering, and it's really down to the lack of democracy. We can see that throughout the European Union with these diktats and the temporary directive coming from the European Union, not to mention the so-called international obligations to benefit the rich, neoliberal policies again. And also it's very important, through the European Union we've seen the monetary policy, we've also seen the fiscal policy being ceded, and Micheál Martin famously said sovereignty was a backward looking idea. So look more closely at our political class and political establishments who are bound down to the European Union every single day rather than being interested in the needs of ordinary people. And without national sovereignty, there can't be no community sovereignty or local democracy, because in the facet of this, we can see the lack of say in the policy of the state, or whatever the economic and fiscal and monetary policies of the state are in terms of using the resources. And in essence, we're just become a colony of the European Union. And that's the way Ireland's now becoming, where we don't have any say. We're bowing down to the diktats of the European Union time and time again. And many people in Ireland internationally are profiting from the crises that these fanatics and psychopaths at the top of society are benefiting from, and trying to divide people, and quite successful at dividing people around what's going on as well, and trying to put them into, make it a binary issue rather than making an issue of what's happening across class boundaries in terms of how working class people are impacted most of all because of lack of access to services, and not to mention the issues around lack of local and community sovereignty and democracy, which are vitally important. Democracy should start and end with the people, not these diktats coming from the bureaucrats in Brussels, coming from the Irish political establishment, who aren't willing to challenge the narrative of what's going on in Brussels, and more interested in standing up for their globalist bosses, the big business bosses and the billionaires, and the interests of ordinary people here in Ireland. To beat these processes, we need to bring it back to basic working class issues and bring it back to our communities up and down the country. Rural and urban Ireland should be uniting around this to bring power back to our beautiful country and beautiful communities up and down the country, and not these international and national investors making huge money from the misery of others, which is a huge, as you can see, human trafficking system at play in society. So thanks for all the support on my videos, really appreciate it. If you like my videos, please press subscribe and take care. Talk to you all soon. So long.